everyone to please stand for the...
What a wonderful way to start our meeting. Thank you so much for that. Is there a supplementary agenda?
No, there is not.
Is disclosures of pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, for open session agenda items and the general nature thereof? Councillor Kirkwood-White?
Yes, I am declaring a conflict of interest on the item number 15B. In order to assist United Way with cash flow, vacation pay until the end of 2018, and I'm taking the pay in lieu of a lump sum upon my retirement.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, presentation number 9. We'll go to that.
Mayor Caniff, we have a special presentation this evening, and I ask Councillor Solomon if he could please come forward first.
Your Worship, I should know how to do that by now, right? Your Worship, members of Council, I was first elected to sit in these chambers in 1982, but this is the first time that I've actually got to this podium, and hopefully it's my last. In Ontario, we have what is called the weak mayor system as opposed to the American model, which is the strong mayor system. Believe me, that's no reflection on the current incumbent, and it's no reflection on the qualities or the skills of the person in the chair. But what it means is that in the American system, the mayor can make policy and enunciate policy, speak on his own behalf. And here, in our system, the mayor is but one member of an important council. And the mayor can speak on behalf of council, of course, but only after council has passed resolutions. So the council, of which he's one part, makes the decisions. However, in our system, the mayor has another very important, very visible function, and that is as the chair of council, where you're sitting tonight. He or she, he in this case, rules the council meetings, calls them to order, keeps the decorum, and if necessary, keeps the peace. Hopefully you won't have to do that very often. And ultimately, you adjourn the meetings. Now in parliaments, at Westminster in London, England, the mother of all parliaments, Ottawa, Queen's Park, in the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, And incidentally, oddly enough, Toronto City Council, who must think they're higher than others, it is the Speaker who is separately elected to that position who runs and controls the meetings. Now, the symbol of that control is the gavel. Yeah, it's not there. That's why I'm here. Hence the expression that you commonly used, wielding the gavel, which is controlling the meeting. And that's what brings me to this podium tonight. Because for a little over a decade, I've sat in that same spot, and there's always been a gavel up there that had a chunk of wood out of it. And I think it's probably been here much longer than the building's been here. And every time it was used, and that wasn't used that often by the prior mayor, but any time it was used, for those of you who are baseball players, it sounded like a broken bat single every time it hit. So I thought that it might be appropriate at the beginning of a new term to have a new gavel. So what I did was I engaged a local artisan, and I had him design and build a gavel that is unique to this municipality. A fellow named Greg Voidovan, who's a Chathamite. And before I present it to the municipality and to our clerk as the representative of the municipal corporation, who will ultimately present it to be used by you, and hopefully your successors for decades to come if it doesn't get broken, I want to first give you a little lesson in gavel use, because it hasn't been used that often around here. So, the first lesson, and it wasn't used tonight because you didn't have a gavel, is when all these people are milling around making noise, you call the meeting to order by simply one knock. They're supposed to quiet down and behave. Then, once the meeting's called to order, it's followed by 3 knocks, and you ask everyone to rise for the singing of the national anthem. Now, if we're unruly or you need to keep somebody in order, it's traditionally 2 knocks and point at them and call them to order. But you may have to go more and more and more depending on how the term goes. And finally, the final knock is simply that, to adjourn the meeting. Now, the gavel itself is part of a 2-piece symbolic device. The other is the sound block, and that is at your right. Often in the courtroom, where the judge also has a gavel, you can't pick that one up, believe me. It's a raised circular piece of wood that the judge hits. You'll note that the one that you just tried to pick up on your right is about, 10 inches by 10 inches and by another 3 inches thick. And it's a large piece of polished marble. And I want you to know that that has been in use by mayors, first at Harrison Hall and now here, since 1902. And if you look at it, you'll also note it was presented by, 1901 in fact, so even longer. You'll note that it was presented to Chatham Council at the time by some fellow named, I think Mayor G.W. Solomon at the time. So what I thought I would do is wait 117 years and then complete the circle. So now you got a gavel to go with the sound block, and if I could present that without any further ado to the clerk. And I Christmas wrapped it myself. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Solomon. That I was not taking notes at the time of how many knocks, so I'm hoping someone did. So give me a little cheat sheet up here to how many knocks to do when and where. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to test it out in a second. I just had to read here. Okay, so is the 3 to get started?
3 to stand up.
3 to 1 to get started. Okay. How does that sound? Does it sound any better this way? Thank you so much. That's awesome. Okay, now on to 9A.
9A, presentation by Ian Clark.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I'm the municipal lead for Rogers Hometown Hockey Chatham-Kent. I'm happy to give you a brief presentation on where we are with preparations for this weekend's event. For the benefit of those at home, as well as some of the new faces we have here around council, Rogers Hometown Hockey will be making its 11th tour stop of this season here in Chatham-Kent, specifically Wellington Street in historic downtown Chatham this Saturday and Sunday. It'll be a weekend-long celebration of community and a celebration of hockey. It's a completely free festival open to all residents of Chatham-Kent and beyond, and will feature live entertainment, bands, interactive games, a kids zone, a virtual photo booth, a hockey circus show, a ball hockey rink, as well as prizes and giveaways. Visitors will get a chance to meet and have autographs signed with NHL alumni, including Toronto Maple Leaf great Thomas Caberlet, and they just announced about a couple hours ago that Dave Gagne will also be on site to sign autographs. The festival runs from 12 to 6 this Saturday and from 12 to 10 this Sunday. Since a big focus of the event is on community, the festival itself will put heavy emphasis on local minor hockey. We've reached out and been in touch with all 10 of our local minor hockey associations in Chatham-Kent. You can expect local players to be playing ball hockey on the festival rink, holding a fundraising barbecue, running some of the activities, and even being a part of the Sunday night broadcast. Scotiabank will be making a $15,000 donation to local minor hockey. The Chatham Optimist Club will be running a 50-50 draw to support local minor hockey, and there'll be opportunities for festival goers to make their own contributions. By holding this event, Rogers wants to ensure hockey development in Chatham-Kent is strong for years to come. The two-day festival culminates on the Sunday evening with an outdoor viewing party of the Winnipeg-Tampa Bay NHL game. The game's pre-game, post-game, and intermission shows will be hosted live on our festival site by Ron McLean and Tara Sloan. The coast-to-coast national broadcast will focus on stories and personalities local to Chatham-Kent. Rogers has announced that Ferguson Jenkins will be on site and interviewed. There will also be features on the Dresden Arena renaming in honor of Ken Houston, as well as our local sledge hockey program. There'll be even more local content to see, but you'll have to either attend the festival or tune in on TV to find out. Our residents provided us with dozens of stories that we forwarded on to Rogers for their consideration by logging on at letstalkchathamkent.ca or through other channels. While most of what you'll see at the festival will have been delivered by Rogers and at their cost, we were responsible for several deliverables around site preparation as well as local marketing. We've been working closely with our partners in police, fire, EMS, various municipal departments, the downtown Chatham BIA, and impacted businesses, just to ensure that we'll be able to provide a safe environment for everyone there and meet Rogers' technical specifications. We're expecting thousands of guests over the course of the weekend. While downtown Chatham does have parking options, we're encouraging guests to carpool, walk, or take transit. In addition to the regular Saturday transit schedule, there will be special bus service on the Sunday running between 3:30 and 8:30. This will allow anybody within Chatham as well as coming into Chatham to simply park along any Chatham bus route in order to get downtown for the festival. We had promotional events last night at both the Chatham Maroons hockey game as well as the Blenheim Blades hockey game. We're planning the same at this week's Wheatley Sharks and Walsburg Lakers games. All public skates this week are free. There'll be a special event with Rogers personalities at TJ Brody's former school here in Chatham. And on Friday, we'll be at the Dresden Kings game for a special puck drop as part of this weekend's festivities surrounding the dedication of the Ken Houston Memorial Agricultural Center. We've been working closely with the Ken Houston organizers on co-promotion and other logistics. The official dedication of the arena will take place at noon on Saturday, and Rogers cameras will be present. There will also be a dinner and dance that evening at the Dresden Arena following the Hometown Hockey Festival in downtown Chatham. In closing, I'd like to recognize the hard work of our many volunteers, staff, local businesses, as well as all of our hockey groups that they put into preparing for this event. I encourage everyone here and their families to come out this weekend for all the free fun, with a particular emphasis on the Sunday evening when the live broadcast kicks off, and we'll get to show the whole country the energy and enthusiasm that makes Chatham-Kent a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. I'd like to open up for any questions, comments, thoughts from the council. Putting you guys on the spot early here. You didn't expect that, did you? Councillor C. McGregor.
The only question I would ask, and it might need to be directed more through to staff, but I heard that the game starts at 6:30 on Sunday downtown, and they will have the outdoor viewing. However, we're only running transportation to 8:30. Does that give enough time for the game to be over and people to leave after the game?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Caniff. The transit schedule that we decided on the Sunday had to do with driver availability. We also worked on this in consultation with Rogers. Now, they told us as much as they love to pack the downtown core all evening, in reality, on the Sunday evening, once the first period ends, people tend to filter out. So we thought at least the 3:30 to 8:30 could get people downtown for the kickoff show, when all the shots of our festival will be broadcasted nationally, and then still get home at a reasonable hour.
Councillor Latimer.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is there a schedule of events put out to the public? Because I've had several actual citizens ask me, and I couldn't find one.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Yes, Roger controls the schedule for the festival. They also control all communications. Typically, the daily list of activities will come out this week. We haven't been told exactly when, but I suspect probably by Wednesday they'll announce the hour-by-hour festival schedule on the Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you.
Oh, any other questions? Oh. Councillor Scotchy.
Just a quick comment there. There was a schedule released at the Blades game last night. They are hitting them out to all the people that attended, and I think it's fabulous that you're putting Chatham-Kent on the map with our national pastime.
Thank you. Okay, number 10, deputations. Items relating to current agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. We have two that have contacted us. I'll remind both speakers that you have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Both are on item 15B, which is relating to the motion of Councillor Carmen McGregor, United Way 2018 campaign. The first speaker will be Nicole Legger, and on deck will be Tom Slager. Nicole?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Nicole Leger, and I'm the teacher of the Autism Transitional Classroom. I am here today to ask you to support Carmen McGregor's motion concerning United Way. The Autism Transitional Classroom is a specialized treatment classroom operated by the St. Clair Catholic District School Board in partnership with Chatham-Kent Children's Services. Our classroom provides specialized short-term placements for students with very severe autism. Students entering this program need intensive treatment to learn new skills and to keep those abilities. As the name implies, the entire focus of our classroom is to successfully transition students to inclusive settings at their home schools. The ATC is the only program of this sort, not only in Chatham-Kent, but in the province. The partnership that we have with Chatham-Kent Children's Services was recognized by the Ministry of Education as best in province among treatment classrooms. In addition to teaching students the skills necessary to be successful in inclusive classrooms, we also train educators and therapists how to teach children with autism. The instructional and assessment practices used in our classrooms serve as a model for other treatment programs in the province, most recently for the Child Parent Research Institute and Thames Valley Children's Centre in London. Another important aspect of our classroom is research. We have conducted 2 research projects on using technology to teach students with autism and have presented about these projects at the Teacher Leadership and Learning Program's annual summit, as well as the Geneva Symposium and International Autism Conference. All of the work we do for children with autism in our community would not be possible without the financial support from United Way. At this time, we currently have 6 children in the classroom and 3 full-time staff, one of which is funded by the United Way. We also have a waiting list of 10 children who need the intensive treatment we provide. If we do not have the funding from United Way, we would not be able to run this program. I am asking that Council pass this motion so that United Way can continue to fund vital programs such as ours in Chatham-Kent. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Oh, video. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going to play a short video.
There's something about being around children. It's like some of their joy you catch. Some of what was old and tried to you gets to be new and fresh again because you can catch part of it through their eyes. I think primarily the reason I wanted to be a parent was we reproduced the environment that we grew up in, for good or bad. I had a lot of good. There was a lot of laughing in my family. Children with autism, there's an opportunity for them to hang on to parts of childhood for a very long time. So that's kind of an upshot if you like being in that stage. For me, I did expect them to grow. That's one of the hardest things about my boys is it doesn't look good for them to be able to take care of themselves. Tommy may manage to be in a group home, but Oblio is just a step away from what is called institutionalized. The United Way is the primary funder of the ATC classroom. What this is getting children of school age ready to attend a public school, a more normalized school setting. Every day, the children from the autistic classroom, they're brought out to visit the classroom with the TDs, the typically developed children. And this is great. I feel more joyful, more uplifted because my children can communicate with me. Thanks to the ATC classroom funded by the United Way, Tommy speaks a lot better. His socializing is a lot better. I saw the changes in Thomas since he started going there. And in all honesty, I cannot say that he would make those changes without ATC classroom. Although quite frequently, Oblio runs in the direction you don't want. There's something really, really uplifting, really enjoyable about watching him run. People should consider giving to the United Way. Number one, because of all the fundraisers, it has, to my knowledge, the greatest transparency. You can go online and you can find out where pretty much every dollar was spent from the United Way. They spend the money for what's going to have the greatest impact. If I had $1 billion, I probably would throw it at the United Way. I would definitely give them $1 billion, and I would see $1 billion worth of good done in society around me. Do you know what local love looks like? It looks like me.
Next speaker is Tom Slager.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and municipal staff. I am here asking you today for your support for Carmen McGregor's motion concerning United Way. I am also representing the grant recipients, hundreds of volunteers and staff who are able to provide service to over 45,000 people across the entire county of Kent through over 40 funding awards in 2018. Many of these people are here with us today. Working with business, government, and other nonprofits, we have been able to create a positive impact in this community that goes beyond the measure of 45,000 lives changed. Each life change shows us one on the tally sheet, but ask yourself, how much more is that life worth in value to those around them, or in productivity within the workforce, or in reduced use of taxpayer-funded resources? United Way is currently involved with over 30 programs and services, including direct services provided by United Way staff. This is, by its nature, a more complex system than single-focus charities, and therefore leaves more room for people to believe what they think they know. Tonight, I wish to do two things. First, to show you how United Way fits in Chatham-Kent, and second, to secure your support for this motion. United Way is directly aligned to support 3 of the 4 goals laid out in CK Plan 2035. Economic prosperity is essential to a community. United Way supports workers and their families so that they can be present at work. Emotional, mental, and financial health are just as important as physical health and contribute to work productivity just as much. Through the 211 service, which is solely maintained in Chatham-Kent by United Way, people are connected quickly to the services they need when trouble arises in their lives. Being present and engaged at your job makes for a safer and more productive worker. United Way believes in a healthy and safe community. Wouldn't it be great to reduce or even eliminate the social and monetary costs of physical abuse? Working with the Chatham-Kent Women's Center, we're trying to do just that. Wouldn't it be great if we could keep kids focused on positive activities and off the street? Working with the Dresden Side Street Youth Program and Solid Rock Cafe in Tilbury, United Way is doing just that. And wouldn't it be great if there was a way to engage our youth before they got in trouble with the law? Working with restorative justice, United Way is doing just that. United Way is also a leader in creating a healthy community. United Way is responsible for approximately 20 public events per year that range from art, music, sports, to healthy living. United Way is open to people from all walks of life, ethnicities, and religions. We have an ongoing partnership with Welcome Home North Buxton. We have been honored to have housed a high school alternative ed program, and we've even been the home of a Sunday Islamic school. We work with both rural and agricultural sectors. United Way is woven into the fabric of Chatham-Kent's cultural tapestry. We are asking for your support of Councillor McGregor's motion and taking a leadership role in the municipality's relationship with United Way. We conduct our annual giving campaign at the same time every year and believe that Council can recognize how deep our roots are and how much benefit these programs bring to the citizens of this municipality by providing a clear direction that United Way is worthy of municipal staff support. United Way is transparent. Programs receive funding based on the advice and consent of community leaders. Our financial statements are available online for anyone to see. Those who claim that United Way doesn't do their homework or spends disproportionate amounts on salary or frivolous things are being willfully ignorant. The municipality has directly supported fundraising efforts before. What we are asking for is access to your people over the course of 1 month so that we can educate them on the value that United Way brings. With this knowledge and education, people make a free will determination of how much they choose to give, and we fully recognize that that choice does include zero. In the past, the municipality has provided a loan representative who worked a few hours a week during the campaign with United Way staff to coordinate these educational presentations within all departments of the municipality. In those years, free will donations totaled over $70,000. However, over the past 5 years, access to municipal staff has declined, leadership from council has waned, and the loan representative program has gone unfilled, often gone unfilled. Last year, just over $20,000 was raised for the municipality. We believe that impact drives results, and our recent inability to relay the impact of gifts to United Way from within the municipality has had a direct and negative influence on campaign results. Yes, we are asking for special consideration from council and municipal staff, but fairness is not about treating everyone equally. Fairness is ensuring that everyone gets what they need. United Way is the community charitable partner that engages the most people with the most variety of vetted programs every year to meet their needs. We ask that council recognize this and help us to help thousands across our municipality. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll move to number 11, consent agenda. Can I get a mover for the consent agenda? Councillor Foss, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any items of interest? Councillor C. McGregor.
Items 11A1 and A2.
A1 and A2. Any other items of interest? Seeing none, all in favor of the rest of the consent agenda? Hands up. Thank you. Opposed? Okay. And okay, so 11A1.
Sorry. Actually, I just wanted to bring this out. This is obviously just a report for our information at this point of time, but I did have some questions as this test pilot comes due as of March 31st, 2019. And I just wanted to want to know, will you require us to come back from council to give you further directions or change of directions? And would that need to be as March? Would you like to wait to the end of the program for us to bring that information back? And number two, I was looking at the numbers of people that had been streaming online and watching it, and I can't help think that as we're trying to provide a very transparent community and increase our community engagement, that we could do better at informing the community that this is actually available out there. And, I just reading the next report, which I'll talk about in a minute, but if you look to the Healthy Kids Community Challenge, some of the strategies they used to get the information out about healthy kids brought in some amazing numbers of people that participated. So I thought that maybe that might be a good way to look. But I guess the biggest thing is would you be looking for further direction, or is the plan at this point just to end the pilot project unless you're notified otherwise?
Through you, Mayor Caniff. We have proposed in this report for a base budget item in the 2019 budget. If you approve it as a base budget item, the thought would be that it would continue until there's a change in direction. If you approve it as a supplementary item, it would just continue for 2019. And of course, if you rejected it completely, it would stop at the end of March 2018.
Okay, then I guess then it'd be more at budget time as opposed to through motion, that if we were wanting to increase to add Facebook streaming or of some method, that needs to come back to the floor to make changes to the program other than what's coming in base budget.
Through you, Mayor Caniff. Yes, actually in conversation with Your TV, they are proposing to stream it live to Facebook as well. And during the pilot period, they did stream, I believe it was 1 or 2 meetings to Facebook, and saw a much higher uptake through Facebook than through through YouTube alone. Now, they are not guaranteeing that everything will be broadcast through Facebook. I think for technical reasons, they want to make sure that they can do that before they guarantee that. But they are proposing to publish it through Facebook as well.
If I could be just allowed one more question. Are we as a municipality helping to promote the awareness of this, or is this just being carried out through Your TV?
Through you, Mayor Caniff. We are promoting it somewhat by following Your TV and promoting it through Facebook somewhat. It's not an extremely active promotion of the Your TV broadcast. That would be the communications officer and perhaps the clerk's office as well that could do some more promotion of it. There was a communications strategy report presented in 2015 that outlined some of the things that the clerk's office does to date around marketing through social media.
Thank you. Then through the mayor, could I just ask that without a motion that a report come back to council that we could look at the communication strategy, or would you like it as I'll bring it as a motion at the next meeting. I think we have time, so.
Apparently that's fine. Judy's saying it's 2 thumbs up on that one.
2 thumbs up. Thank you very much.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much. I did want to say I think it's a good program, and I think it's money well spent. I did notice that just before the meeting started, somebody from one of our Twitter accounts actually did tweet out the link, so it is getting out there a little bit. It might be a question for another day, but when it comes to the costs, can you explain to me why we pay $500 to Your TV for our broadcast rights?
Through you, Mayor Caniff. Your TV owns all of the video equipment in council chambers. They own all of the broadcast equipment in council chambers in their broadcast booth. They do all of the production of the council meeting, including the banners across the bottom, controlling which video camera, controlling the audio. It is their material. We've had ongoing partnership with them for the broadcast to the Your TV television channel. We pay the $500 in addition to nothing. We pay $500 for them to stream live to the internet. Of course, their business model is streaming to their broadcast television show, so we pay that premium to have it streamed live to the internet.
Okay, I expected as much, and we're not the NHL, so we can't really garner the big bucks for our faces and visages. But the other question I did have was in regards to the closed captioning. Who does that closed captioning work?
Through you, Mayor Caniff. We did a simple quotation to procure a vendor to do the captioning. The current company is PostCap LLC, was the successful bidder for that. That is until March the 31st, 2019. If the funds are approved through the budget process, we would need to go to another simple quote to procure a new vendor for captioning.
Okay, and maybe it is for the report that's going to come forward, but I know from experience that YouTube allows a couple of mouse clicks and they'll do the closed captioning immediately. It's not perfect, but it would save us $400 a meeting, so something to consider at the very least.
Thanks, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Pinsino.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question. If the motion passes that we do end up taking the council meetings on the road, will there be additional costs to live stream it from the remote locations?
Through you, Mayor Caniff, we are going to be starting the assessment of the moving around council in January. And consultation with Your TV about any costs they may have will certainly be part of that assessment. If Your TV is not able to provide that service or not able to stream it live to the internet for those particular meetings, we would also look at other video broadcasting options, including the live streaming, if technically feasible at those locations.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a great program. It's going to be good for the rural areas who don't get Cogeco cable. Onward and upward.
Thanks, Councillor Pinsino. Councillor C. McGregor, can you put a motion for to accept 11A1?
I most definitely would make a motion.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Oche.
No.
Thank you, Mayor.
You can still consider I have a motion on the floor.
Through you, have we looked at any other live stream? Anyone else doing it for us, so it might be a little bit less expensive? I realize Cogeco owns everything in here, but I know a gentleman did quite a bit on Facebook during elections with live stream, and I know what he paid was quite a bit less money than what we're looking at here.
Through you, Mayor Caniff, we did have some contact with other broadcast companies that can do it. In our assessment, we felt that the quality of what Your TV was able to provide was substantially better than what some of the other providers could provide on an ad hoc basis. So we did stop with the Your TV in our assessment.
Okay. If I have someone get in touch with you, would that be fine regarding this?
Through you, Mayor Caniff, absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to presenter, I'm having difficulty judging, measuring, and then judging whether it's a good expenditure of taxpayers' dollars, and particularly when we get in that conversation about does it become a base budget item. I mean, that may be a month and a half from now, but still, how do we measure this? I mean, I've read the report, I've got the numbers in front of me, but I don't want to say it's meaningless to me, but to know that on September 10th, 2018, 95 people were viewing, I don't know how to measure that, whether that's a lot, hardly any. There are 100 and some odd thousand people. Mind you, some of them may be 2 years old and 3 years old, and they probably would enjoy watching us. But I just don't know. I don't know how to measure it, to say whether it's a good use of dollars when it doesn't appear that a whole lot of people are utilizing it. Are there other communities who stream and that you can compare it to know whether it's being utilized? I mean, I like the idea. I heard Councillor Pinsino. I like the idea that it does get the message out further, but I just can't tell whether that's... Normally when you want to make a decision, we've always been told by staff to learn how to measure things, right? I mean, you want to measure it before you make a decision on expenditure. I'm not getting the measurement, I guess is what it is. I hope I'm not alone, but when you see 5,300 watching live and you see 100 looking at the streaming, or even less in most occasions, I don't know how to measure. So I'm not criticizing it. I'm just trying to understand if we're going to be asked to make a over 5 years, it's a $365,000 expenditure. That's not peanuts, and therefore I'd like to know how to measure it. Maybe you can't tell me today, but help me a bit, and then when we get to budget, maybe we can all, we must have something that'll tell us whether it's a good expenditure or not just to feel good.
Through you, Mayor Caniff. First of all, I don't have statistics about other municipalities. That is something I can prepare for you over the next few weeks in preparation for the 2019 budget process, absolutely. In terms of the value, if you remove outliers in the total broadcast that we've had so far, on average we have about 41 viewers per broadcast. So that's removing the highest count and the lowest count and just looking at the norm. 41 on average per broadcast in the recorded version. Measuring the value is at the discretion of council. It's not a for-profit broadcast, so we're not getting revenue based on the broadcast, either through your TV or through the video archive that's produced through our municipal account. So it is truly at the discretion of council whether you're getting value based on the numbers that you're seeing.
Your worship, mind bite. So that does help me anyway to know that what we're talking about is 41 viewers, and then I can at least look at the amount that you've set out annually. And the question then is, for 41 viewers, is it worth whatever the annual amount is? Or for 41 viewers times each meeting? But in any event, that at least gives me a better idea of how many people are really using this on a regular basis. And you're right, you've got to throw out the outliers like the inauguration meeting, and you have a couple in here that had some real controversy that had people watching too, but yeah, thank you.
Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Just a quick question. The way I read it, it sounds like we're paying about $900 to live stream. So back to conventional television, which has been on for a long time, did we pay for that? Do we pay for that now?
Through you, Mayor Caniff, we do not currently pay for the Your TV broadcast of our council meetings.
So that's been, because there's no commercials during that broadcast, so they don't make any money on it. It's just sort of a nice thing to, well, the whole station's basically like a nice kind of thing to do, right? So that's been free. Okay, I was curious. I didn't know if we had paid for that. Thank you very much.
Councillor McGrail, followed by Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. So my question to you is that we are very rural, and we know that our internet sometimes in our rural outlying areas is lacking. So has this been taken into consideration for how we broadcast the news feed that we send out, that maybe the bandwidth is smaller so then it can be played from those sites that do not have that high-speed internet?
Through you, Mayor Caniff, rural broadband is absolutely an active project for the municipality of Chatham-Kent. We are working on getting more internet access and higher speed internet access to rural Chatham-Kent. That said, both YouTube, which is what Your TV promotes the video through their YouTube channel, as well as the Vimeo account that we use municipally to archive all of the video, both of them have optimizers for streaming to low internet bandwidth people or locations. That said, anyone who's used a very slow rural connection, watching a YouTube video can be a challenge. They do try to optimize it as best possible.
Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. My question, when you do the report regarding the broadcast, could we also have a report as to what was put out to the citizens in order to know that they were being broadcast? Just whatever media was put out there.
Hey, thanks. Do we have a second? Oh, are you seconding, or are you a question as well? Oh, okay. Councillor B. McGregor.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I agree with Councillor Solomon that this is a budget decision that we'll make in a month and a half, and that's where it should be. But I would just caution when we're assessing value for something like this. Outside of those numbers, I think that the value is about accessibility. So not just how many people are using it, but the fact that it's there to be used. So if someone is interested, they're now capable to access these meetings from wherever they are. And I think that it is, as Councillor Solomon says, difficult to quantify that value. And I do think that, as Councillor Thompson was saying, that we have to look at this as an opportunity in respect to our communication strategy. So I think we would see viewership go up if in advance we're talking about, a month in advance, you can say there's going to be an issue about the animal shelter on a certain Monday night. I think you might see viewership go up. So I think when we're talking about civic engagement, we're talking about our communication strategy. This needs to be part of it, but it's also a measure of how well we are doing. And I think that we can certainly do better in throwing out those heads up, alerting people to important issues that are going to be coming up at council, and that can drive viewership too.
Okay, do we have a seconder for Councillor C. McGregor? Councillor Latimer, seconder, all in favor? 11A2, we have a video, a presentation from Annie. Okay, I'm not, come on up, Annie.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening with an overview about Super Kids CK. I'm the coordinator. My name is Annie Lukacovic, but I don't expect anybody to pronounce that properly, really. Before I move into the how of what we did for this initiative, I would like to review the why and the what. And basically, I'd just like to reflect back on a presentation that was done on May 7th of this year by Chris Sherman from the Chatham-Kent Public Health Unit. He is with the Chronic Disease and Wellbeing team, and he talked a little bit about a summary of our health status report from 2017, our health, how are we doing? And I just wanted to reflect on a few of those statistics to help build a case for what has been happening for the last 3 years. So you might remember, if you were part of council and the mayor at the time, that chronic disease rates in Chatham-Kent are typically higher than the provincial average. With respect to cardiovascular disease, every year there are 1,156 hospitalizations and 364 deaths. There are 157 hospitalizations and 44 deaths related to diabetes, and 631 new cases of cancer and 300 cancer-related deaths. Finally, in Chatham-Kent, 61% of adults and 41% of youth are either overweight or obese. And so this connection comes into play when we talk about children's health, because we know that when it comes to children's health, this equals adults' health. So studies indicate that overweight or obese children are more likely to become overweight or obese adults. And when we look at the risk factors or the outcomes for obese adults, we know that they are more likely to have coronary artery disease, stroke, high blood pressure, breast and colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, gallbladder disease, and osteoarthritis. And just to bring you back to some of the outcomes that I talked about with respect to Chatham-Kent, as mentioned, quite a few of our chronic diseases are higher in average compared to the province. Specifically, one of the cancers that are of highest incidence in Chatham-Kent is breast cancer, and it is estimated that by 2023 we will see 7,200 new cases of diabetes. And so just to link back to the CK Plan 2035 about making a healthy and safe community and the importance of making the connection between the impact of programs like this and that strategic focus. So healthy habits that help to reduce the risks of chronic diseases include physical activity and healthy eating. And we know that these healthy habits are carried from childhood into adulthood. And so we were able to address this in children starting in August of 2015 to September 2018 through the Healthy Kids Community Challenge. So the municipality of Chatham-Kent received a grant through the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, along with 45 other communities in Ontario, to address these issues with interventions that focused on 4 different themes. So these themes were run, jump, play every day, looking at physical literacy and physical activity. Water Does Wonders, looking at healthy hydration with the encouragement of more water consumption. choose to boost veggies and fruit for more vegetables and fruit at meals and snack times, and Power Off and Play, encouraging less sedentary recreational screen time. And it really takes a village to raise a child, and a healthy child at that. These are the members of our steering committee that helped guide Super Kids CK, and a sample of the partners that were very important in implementing all of our initiatives from the past 3 years. And so to try to summarize all of the initiatives and interventions that we implemented in the last 3 years would be very difficult for me to do in a short period of time. But we were able to summarize it a little bit in a poem, and we were very lucky to have 4 super kids that are here tonight, actually. They're all over there, recite this poem for us, and I'm going to play you a video that will show that. So just to note that we have Cece, Maya, Roy, and Keegan here tonight.
The name of theme, when I say, was one jump play every day. 400 educators got physical literacy training. You know that stuff ain't raining. 70 people at social media workshops. It's a way to get programs to the top. Children's Treatment Center paved the way for equal play in CK. 8 weeks of day camp in Dresden, provided free by CK WAC. What I win. All for kids in CKCS. Work to refer children of need to a sport they prefer. Go girls, game on. Big brothers, big sisters, bringing the fun. 12 play packs in circulation. That's the library's big mission. 100 plus free skates and swims. Grab your gear and get active on a whim. Thing 2 with Olive Wonder was Water Does Wonders. Club H2O by YMCA, CK, REC, and CTC. Splashing with floaties, all for free. 46 water stations were distributed throughout. That's what the CK Awards program was about. 10 schools received 86 water bottles or more. Water Does Wonders month we did adore. 13 made a pledge on waterdoeswonders.ca. Water is king, and sugar-sweetened beverages are cast away. Sports, nutrition, and the fundamentals of movement provided to 9 associations in Chatham-Kent. 1852 students at the CK Water Festival. It's all about making water use sustainable. 14 professionals gathered in the city to learn more about preventing childhood obesity. Scene 3, I salute you too, as choose to boost veggies and fruits. Fuel up with Blenheim, Tilbury, and Dresden Arena, bringing water, veggies, and fruits to the Sena. 3 child cares in public health last fall. Piloted farms to child care for all. Kitchen Kids peer leader training and resources for 14 clubs. Veggies and fruits is what I mean. Yum, it's story time is a tale they did tell. They being local dietitians and CKPL. He's a mascot made of fruits and veggies. That's right, I'm talking about broccoli. 15 organizations received booster grants. Man, CK wants children to eat plants. Public Health works with child cares to paint their plates. Veggies and fruits across the system is our fate.
The fourth and final theme to relay was Power Off and Play. Public health nurses and family home visitors worked at educating and supplying 125 screen-free kits down pat. Big brothers, big sisters supported mentors to intervene. with hiking, yoga, and cooking classes to get off the screen. 121 staff learned from 2 docs on the podium. April 19th was the Power Off and Play Symposium. Ads on the radio, on social media, at the movies, and on TV, all to encourage parents to be more screen-free. The Action Passport was a huge idea for action, inspiring families with play and face-to-face interaction. Community hotspots, CK Rec did expand. Free camp in our communities, how grand. Teaching 28 children to ride is something we like. Children's Treatment Center organized I Can Bike. CKPL and Chatham-Kent Trails did create 3 storybook trails to date. What you just heard is the tip of the iceberg, and ahead of us there is still a lot of work. But with 70 partnerships comes great wealth. We can make a difference for children's health.
Can I ask our 4 poets to stand up, please? And I want you to take a bow. Councillor C. McGregor, any other comments?
No, I just say I'm really happy I pulled it out of the consent agenda. I just wanted to comment on what a great report it was and some of the ideas that you had used to get the message out and to work with children were great, and I enjoyed reading the report. Thank you.
And they did all that report just for you.
I know.
So, Councillor Harrigan.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I also really appreciated reviewing the report, and I think the poem was just icing on the cake there for me. 2 questions that I have with regards to the information that was given tonight. The first is with reference to the coordinator role. The report identified as being key or crucial to ongoing success and something that the partners are currently exploring for future roles in sustainability. My first question is, would you be able to elaborate on, which major partners are at the table for that conversation? And is this role within the public health unit in terms of where it's located right now?
In terms of the people at the table for our steering committee, they've been there since the beginning. So we have, just as a few, Childcare and Early Years Department, we have CK Rec, we have the YMCA as well, we have the libraries, we also have public health, we also have Chatham-Kent Children's Services and Children's Treatment Center, and yes. There are more, but they're just escaping my mind now, just to give you an example. And then, yes, it currently sits with public health, the role, but it is a municipal initiative, or it was a municipal initiative.
Okay, thank you. And another question, Mayor Caniff, is actually first a comment is some of the successful initiatives that we saw the CK Super Kids participate in, or some of the programs that they ran actually served dual purposes. So one good example of that is the hotspot summer camps that were referenced. So not only did these provide good opportunities for children to get out and away from their screens and computers and Nintendo systems in the summer months, but it also provided childcare options for parents in rural communities throughout the summer. So this is something that I see important, Mayor Caniff, for 2 different initiatives. I have a motion that I'm happy to put forward now or later with regards to considering the continuation of these programs in areas where they are not currently being funded in Chatham-Kent.
That'll come up in 12A, so right after this.
Perfect.
Anything else? Councillor C. McGregor, can I get a motion to accept the report? Need a seconder? Councillor Harrigan, all in favor? Excellent. Notices of motion. Councillor Harrigan, I'll give you the first one since you mentioned it already. Putting you on the spot here.
I was just going to say, now I have to bring it up, sorry. Thank you. So I, Councillor Melissa Harrigan, hereby provide notice that I will bring forward the following motion at the Monday, December 17th council meeting for discussion and voting. Whereas the CK Super Kids program is scheduled to come to full completion in December of 2018, and part of that programming provided significant support to childcare summer programs needed in rural communities in CK, specifically Bothwell and Tilbury, who in prior years did not have these play-based municipally run summer camps. And whereas the municipality is committed alongside 70 other partners involved to advancing the goals of the Super Kids program to broadly promote and enable healthy behaviors in children, that this request be brought forward during the 2019 budget deliberations to support the operation of summer camps in both Tilbury and Bothwell through the summer of 2019.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I, Councillor Trevor Thompson, hereby provide notice. I'll bring forward the following motion at the December 17th council meeting for discussion and voting. Whereas the rate of general family physicians in Chatham-Kent is 76.9 per 100,000 population, which is lower than the Erie-St. Clair-Lynn at 92.5 per 100,000, which is lower than the provincial average of 109.4 per 100,000. And whereas in 2018, Chatham-Kent had approximately 65 primary practice physicians, and of these primary practice physicians, 25% were between the ages of 55 and 64, another 17% were 65 and older. And whereas 62% of primary practice physicians practice in the city of Chatham, and whereas in 2017, 46% of Chatham City Centre, 58.5% of rural Kent residents reported that their emergency room visit was for a condition that could have been managed by their primary care provider, had that provider been available. And whereas current data is not available on resident satisfaction with the location of their primary care practitioner in relation to where they live, anecdotal data continues to have residents seeking a primary care practitioner in their local community. So we'll get to it here. Therefore, be it resolved that administration work with the Erie-St. Clair-Lynn to help fund and reinstate a primary care practitioner recruitment and retention program for Chatham-Kent, and that an upside limit of $100,000 be submitted to the 2019 budget in support of this program.
Any other notices? Councillor Kirkwood-White.
I, Councillor Karen Kirkwood-White, hereby provide notice that I will bring forward the following motion at the 2018 December 17th council meeting for discussion and voting. Whereas a local citizen-led group has undertaken a survey of issues related to the local transit system, and whereas such survey was completed over a period of approximately 10 weeks by 385 individuals, and whereas the survey results have revealed information that is pertinent to work currently underway by the Chatham-Kent Infrastructure and Engineering Services Department, Workforce Planning Board, and other community partners such as St. Clair College to enhance local employment opportunities, and whereas civic engagement is a prerequisite for building a stronger, safer, and more caring community, and it is important for those who responded to the survey to know that their voices have been heard. Therefore, be it resolved that an 11-member CK Transit Task Force be established, consisting of 2 members of council, of which 1 will serve as chair, 4 members of the general public with interest in transit, 2 regular riders of the current transit system, and 3 members of Chatham-Kent municipal staff. To A, review the results of the recent CK Transit survey, which concluded November 30th. B, review such other information as is already held by the municipality and other community partners. And C, to develop a public transit strategy and action plan to address current shortcomings in our public transit system. And further, that such task force report back to council with a preliminary report by April 30th, 2018.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Item 13, corporate services.
Item 13A, 2019 schedule of council meetings.
Get a motion? Councillor B. McGregor, seconded by Councillor Pinsino. Discussion? Okay. Councillor Aaron Hall.
Thanks, Mayor Kenneth. Excuse me. I have a question about the community development forums, which were slated to not be scheduled for this upcoming year. I thought they were some excellent forums to engage with the community, working with some community partners, which include the Wallaceburg Chamber and the Chatham Chamber. And they provide a good opportunity to dig deeper into some certain topics and engage with the public as well. So I've communicated with Judy already about this, but so I understand these meetings are not necessarily being shelved completely.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Yes, we have put forward this calendar, and it contains 2 meetings a month. and therefore we felt the need to not necessarily book the forums as of yet, but as topics come up, should the best means to conduct those would be a forum, we can definitely either add it to a current meeting being scheduled on this calendar, or we could have a special meeting on a different Monday night or another evening for that matter. Could be scheduled here, it could be scheduled in community, so it actually allows us a little more flexibility. And what we used to do is have 3 forums throughout the year, and those were scheduled, whereas now if 2 topics come up fairly close together, it doesn't have us wait for another few months. So there is a little more flexibility by not actually putting them on the council calendar, but I agree they are beneficial, and we haven't gotten rid of the forums completely for that matter.
One other quick question, and for what I understand, this is going to be looked at along with the whole item of the roving council meetings. That's going to be looked at as possibly, an alternative or an addition to those types of meetings when and if that gets carried?
Yes, so the notice of motion that Mayor Caniff had brought forward a couple months ago, we will be working on that report and getting it back in the new year. We will definitely take into consideration the forum type meetings that could be done throughout the communities also, so we'll put that in the report when it comes forward.
Thank you.
Councillor C. McGregor.
Thank you, and through the mayor. The other thing I would ask is, even though we are looking at doing a different format for the forums themselves, will we still have opportunity for the chambers to come at other meetings separated from the forums, because they generally opened our forums with recognition to community members?
Thank you. Any other comments?
Sorry, can I just respond to that one? Yes, we will definitely continue to have those recognitions done. As council knows, we have other types of recognitions at the beginning of the council meetings, and I have spoke with Karen Loney with regards to that. Again, adding a little more flexibility to they can come whenever onto our agendas, but we will definitely continue with those and put them on the current agendas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody can vote. Are you ready for that? All right.
So Councillor Kirkwood-White and Mayor Caniff.
Oh, yeah. I just was busy watching your screen. Yeah.
All votes are in. Motion passes 18-0.
Item 13B, acting mayor schedule 2018 to 2022.
A motion, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Worship. I would move that the acting mayor schedule from 2018 to 2022 be approved.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Crew. Discussion? I'll call for a vote.
Councillor Kirkwood-White. There. All votes are in. Motion passes 18-0.
Agenda
Item 14A, Community Human Services. Results of the 2016-17 Building Condition Assessment, Accessibility Audits, Energy Upgrade Audit Updates, and Capital Reserve Fund Forecast.
Councillor Voss.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Bondi, second. Discussion? Oh, brief presentation. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. My name is Shelley Wilkins, and I'm the Director of Housing Services, and it gives me pleasure to introduce to you Michael Henson, who is an Executive Director with IRC Building Sciences Group. This company recently completed our 2016-17 building condition assessments, and they have been the successful bidder in the past. So they did our initial study back in 2004, 2005, and the update that we did in 2010-11, and now they're updating us again with the 2016-17 report. So I'm just going to get him set up, and he'll make his presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to present our study to you. I'll assure you that the presentation won't be as exciting as Super Kids CK, but I'll try to make it as invigorating as possible. As introduced, we did a building condition assessment for the municipality. We were tasked by Housing Services to look at all the housing portfolio that is currently funded by Chatham-Kent. This presentation is a summary of thousands of hours of time that both our firm and the Housing Services put together, and thousands of pages of report. So not everything can be captured, obviously, but we'll try to capture as much as possible. The study in total is a snapshot in time to see where the housing stock is and where you're going. So the project scope, just to get to everybody an idea of what you have here in Chatham-Kent that is currently funded by the municipality. Chatham-Kent Public Housing, there's 26 sites that have over 700 rental units. The private nonprofit housing providers here in Chatham-Kent have 47 projects and just under 800 rental units. The project scope included a building condition assessment, basically looking at the building and all the components, figuring out what condition they're at, where they should be at, and what the cost will be to get them to where you want them. The input and all the findings and recommendations for this study, we utilized a third-party online software called Asset Planner, and it allowed our field personnel to input in real time the data and photos from what they were looking at on the facilities. There was an update to the energy audit that was done in 2010, and this was basically to describe what changes had been made since 2010. There was a portion for accessibility audit where we went and made measurements in the units that are accessible to get a snapshot of where they are at and how they're constructed. Probably the most interesting part is we produce a capital reserve fund forecast, and that's a summary of what we project as expenditures that are needed to maintain the housing stock, and project over 30 years where things need to be spent, where money needs to be spent to keep the facilities up to date. The deliverables were blended report that were produced for this study, different from previous years. And the blended report included a report produced by the Asset Planner software, where it listed all the components that we saw in the buildings, all our observations and recommendations, and then accompanying photographs to help illustrate what we saw. The Asset Planner has a non-manipulative summary expenditure table. So to complement that was we produced an expenditure and capital reserve fund spreadsheet that was manipulable. So we could make some forecasting on how things could change to make it more viable. So the building condition assessment, and this is, we look at every property, but we look at every component in the building, right from the sidewalk, right to the top of the roof. Everything in the building is looked at. We look at how they're performing, what age they are, how good they are performing, what needs to be replaced, what needs to be fixed. The components include, like listed in that on the slide, all the site exterior, interior, site services, mechanical, electrical, fire life safety, barrier-free accessibility, and vertical lift components. So there's a lot of items in each facility. Each facility might have upwards to 200 components. Each component is assigned a rating based on our judgment of good, fair, poor, or critical. Critical being something that you need to take care of sooner than later. Good being it's in good shape. Maybe it's a newer thing or something that's been replaced recently. The components were also identified with action types. So the action type would be, do we need to repair it? Do we need to replace it? Is there something new required? or if some further study needs to be done. The action time frame as well was assigned with four components: urgent, high, medium, low, and that gauges a little bit more what time frame you need to look at it at. The energy audit was, as described previously, it was an update. We looked at the findings from 2010. We looked at the improvements that were made by the Housing Services staff, and then identified what had been done. That's what was the purpose of this version of the update. The Capital Reserve Fund, again, this was produced on an expenditure sheet. It prints up about this big per site. It also was roll-up summaries as well from all the facilities that were produced, and it's identifying every component, timeframes when work needs to be done, and when costs need to be done. The costing that we were put in there are based on current unit costs. We will look at cost tables, engineering cost tables for this. We'll also look at previous projects where we were involved with replacements, where things were replaced, and we can get an idea of what those costs were. And there's also a lot of interaction with the Housing Services because they do a lot of things on their own, so we can gauge them to go where the costs would be. So what we did with that table is we produced two scenarios. And it's the same way we did it in 2010 in the 2006 study, was where we put the scenario 1, which was the current opening balance and the current annual contribution increased only by inflation. So if you maintain your current payments or investments, and then every year with inflation to increase how much you're investing in the properties, that's what the scenario 1 is. Scenario 2 is using the current opening balance, and then we modeled an annual contribution, and we played through a lot of scenarios of this, but came up with one that we felt was the best alternative for your folks, and we had a lot of conversations with Housing Services to confirm their feeling that we were on the right wavelength. But the idea is we want to eliminate negative balances in the reserve fund. Save for a rainy day is, the easiest way of saying it. Well, we do that on our own homes. Well, this is the same thing for this, except for you're looking over 1,400 units. So sometimes it could be a staggering amount, but there are 1,400 homes in Chatham-Kent that we believe, and I think you believe as well, that there has to be money set aside just in case and to take care of things coming up. The notable changes in the building condition assessment, I'll say that we do this on quite a few municipalities. I'll say that the properties are in our opinion, they're well maintained. There are a good amount of capital projects that are undertaken on an annual basis to keep them in good shape. We don't see anything that's really fallen behind since the previous study. So there's no neglect. Things have been taken care of fairly well. There's been many capital upgrades, as I indicated, from funding contributions from the municipality, but there's been some other incentives from some of the other government levels that have helped out as well. There was one new asset on Tecumseh Road in Chatham called Riverview Terrace. And then there was one property that was sold, 770 Wallace Street, that was removed from the public housing portfolio. One financial item, that there was a program instituted in 2009 and ran for a couple of years. It was called SHERP, and it afforded a lot of incentives to do improvements to your facilities, and I know that Chatham-Kent took advantage of that. Some of the projects that we've noticed, and they're significant projects, we've highlighted it here. For the public housing portfolio and the private non-profit portfolio, these are all municipally funded projects that you have undertaken and you've financed. A lot of roof replacements, some interior renovations like kitchens and bathrooms, and then also furnace replacements and elevator replacements. So a wide range of projects, but these are major projects that took considerable effort by housing services, and we recognize that in the study. So the typical findings from an energy audit update. Energy improvements and are usually gauged on different levels. So we put this in 3 categories: recommended upgrades, considered upgrades, and not recommended upgrades. And how we said that was recommended upgrades were things that we get 0 to 5 year payback period. And those are easy things to do. And they don't take a lot of skilled labor to do it. It's the low flow shower heads, the aerators on sinks, high efficiency appliances, and LED lamps. These are low tech items, but they have the best payback. A lot of the updates that we saw were focused on those. The considered upgrades, 5 to 15 year payback, and these are changing your furnace type to a condensing furnace, upgrading a lighting fixture, not just a bulb, putting low flow toilets, Energy Star refrigerators. These are things that are starting to take a little bit more effort, a little higher skill to do the upgrade. And the next one, the upgrade's not recommended, and these are things that are 15 year plus. And the thing that you're going to look at and you go, is this guy really for real or not, is the insulation upgrades. Insulation upgrades have a very poor payback, unfortunately, when you do an energy modeling on a building. The only time that they do make sense is when you're making a change. So if you make a change to a roof, it's a good time to update. If you're changing your exterior walls, it's a good time to update your insulation. But those things take time, so the payback is so long. The only time that you can really see that that's becoming a value is when there's other grants that are available, and through Union Gas, and there's programs for that, and I believe housing services have taken advantage of that. So the recommendations that I've undertaken since 2010 were changing the LED lighting, and these are not changing the fixtures. This is just changing the bulbs and the potentially the ballasts, putting in the low flow shower heads and tap areas, the low flow toilets. There was some insulation in the attics, which is a simpler thing to do and a less expensive thing. And this would be in a traditional home, not a flat roof, but a peaked roof. And then the furnace replacement. But I think those were timed a little bit more with end of life of furnaces, not it was, hey, let's change it for energy efficiency. The notable changes in the capital reserve funds. And this slide, it really kind of is a precursor to the next slide so you can read it better. We put condition ratings to the sites. How did we feel those sites were at this point with regards to the reserve fund? The 4 categories were good condition, reasonable condition, fair condition, and financial concern. We've got some arrows going on in the next slide. The green arrow indicates the condition rating of the reserve fund has improved. The blue arrow indicates the condition rating of the reserve fund remains unchanged. And the red arrow indicates the condition rating of the reserve fund rating has worsened. So sorry, the writing on this is a little small. Trying to get everything on the one side. Back in 2010, we had 2 sites that we felt were in good condition. Or sorry, not we felt, that the reserve fund identified were in good shape. And in 2017, we're showing that the reserve fund is not as favorable right now. In reasonable, there's 3 properties. In fair condition, there's several properties. Some of them have maintained there, some of them have dropped down there, and one has actually increased to get in there. And the last is financial concern. There's 2 sites that we feel that are underfunded right now. So thousands of pages of data and tables. We start summarizing it here in the financial tables. The yellow line was the projected expenditures. These are what we thought you needed to spend on your sites, summarized for the entire portfolio. Green was the 2017, so it's different because of things have aged differently, or some work has been done and some work hasn't been done. Those 2 lines. The capital reserve fund balance are the blue and red lines. Blue was our forecast in 2010, and the red is our current forecast. The black line is the recommended minimum balance, and that was a number that was provided us by Housing Services. You don't really want that reserve fund to fall below the minimum balance. And for those who are not familiar with reserve fund studies or reserve funds, it's just saving money or having the money set aside to pay for something in the future. So that's a very powerful tool that's used by municipalities all over the province. This is scenario 1. This included annual contributions increased by inflation only. So this is what you're spending now, with projecting every year to be increased by 1.5%. In 2010, we predicted that there was going to be a deficit year in 2019. And that's with the projected expenditures. That's where we're saying you need to spend your money to maintain the housing stock in industry standard level. So 2010, we predicted that 2019 would be your first deficit year. In 2017, so this year, or this study, has altered slightly because we're now predicting that deficit year is 2021. If that current funding with the inflationary rate is kept in place. So the capital reserve fund balance comparison for scenario 1. This is just Chatham-Kent public housing. This is municipally owned facilities only. Again, the annual contributions have only been increased by inflation. So this analysis shows that the projected balance is for 2017. The deficit for just the municipally owned is 2020. For the Chatham Hope portfolio, and if you're not familiar with Chatham Hope, it's a lot of facilities scattered. There's single-family dwellings scattered throughout the Chatham-Kent. So quite a significant portfolio that is receiving the funding through you. And we're showing that the projected deficit is 2021 based on current funding. The scenario 2, as I indicated before, we've put a scenario 2 where we're recommending increased funding. Then this is for all the facilities. And the idea is we want to stay above the minimum balance of $500,000. And so our scenario 2 model increases for a 5-year period by until 2022. There's a significant increase every year, and then afterwards, then settle down at just inflationary rate. This allows you to take care of a lot of the items that we've identified that need to be taken care of. They could be older, worn out, or not functioning anymore. But it's, again, to keep everything up to current housing standards. So this is what it looks like. And we've added to this slide some information. A lot of these facilities are starting to come at the end of their mortgage. They're coming free of mortgage. And those are starting in 2019 and right up to 2034. So they're coming to the end of their mortgage life. That's for the Chatham-Kent, is in purple. In yellow, it's the private nonprofits. So they're almost about the same time frame. Their mortgages are up in 2021 to 2033. And the Chatham Hope, their mortgages are running out. So these are debt-free facilities starting in 2022 to 2027. The scenario 2 for just the municipally owned, the Chatham-Kent public portfolio, with the scenario that we're showing, we're keeping at or just above the minimum balance of $500,000 until year 2026, and it kind of peaks up there. But this is a way to get through the next 8 to 10 years, is to go through this exercise of increasing your contributions. Again, the scenario 2 for just Chatham Hope. So these are those single-family dwellings. To keep on top of that minimum balance, the scenario 2 does work to maintain that stock for a little longer period, up to 2035, where you can keep right above that minimum balance that you're acting for. To summarize the model contributions for the next 5 years until 2008 to be sustainable. So in 2010, that's in black there, we recommended that for 6 years you increase by 8.31%, and then 2% onward. And on our current, that was not acted upon. The current recommended contribution increases for the current study, the scenario 2 that we prepared, is for the next 4 years there'd be a 13% increase to contributions to the reserve fund study, and then from 2023 onwards, 1.5%, which is the rate inflation currently. Some notes for that. 13% represents an average additional $278,000 per year for the next 5 years from the municipality to the reserve fund. Just a bit of more statistics. The current contribution per unit per year is approximately $1,113. The target contribution for you to keep the housing stock in good shape to provincial standards, where we're seeing province-wide, is you should be contributing about $2,000 or just over $2,000 per unit. The scenario 2, we put some calculated model contributions for the next 5 years, and this shows you where you're spending your money as well, because you've got the municipally owned, you have the private nonprofit facilities, and then you have the Chatham Hope facilities. So the charts, a little bit unwieldy to read, but in 2018, we had recommended that for the public housing, that there would have been contribution of $1,477. That was our recommendation then. Your current contribution in $1,291, so a little bit behind what was recommended then. But the scenario 2 brings it up to an area where it would be needed, where we think it would be needed in 2022 of $2,142. The private nonprofit, you don't contribute as much. There's other funding. They receive other funding as well, not only municipalities. So up to 2022, we're thinking we're projecting that the 2017 contribution per unit should be up to just over $1,500. And then for the Chatham Hope, these are the single-family dwellings that take a little bit more money to take care of, that the 2017 contribution rate, or per the 2000 contribution scenario 2, the 2022 contribution should be over $2,000 per unit. That's it.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions? Councillor Oche?
Thank you, through you, your mayor. Shelley, sorry for Shelley. Shelley, is this Chatham-Kent collected taxes, or is this provincial taxes that would pay for this?
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. We do receive federal funding for social housing that we support. However, the funding that we received has been fixed at 2002, the amount of funding that we were getting, so it was frozen. And then it's frozen on a diminishing scale. So it's actually decreasing over time, and it will actually go to zero. And that's why I had Michael include in there when the mortgages end, because when mortgages and debentures get to zero for those different housing providers, including ourselves, then our funding will actually be at zero.
And, excuse me, will this be in the budget?
Thank you. As far as corporate life cycle goes, it is part of the municipal budget. So just to clarify how the reserve funding happens for the capital reserves, part of it is that the province dictates a funding formula that includes a capital reserve fund contribution, which the municipality funds 100%. The other part is where we're funding beyond what we're legally required to do under the Housing Services Act. And you've been doing that since 2006 through the Corporate Life Cycle Plan. And so we have in the Corporate Life Cycle Plan both public housing, which we own and are 100% responsible for, and then we also have the funding that we provide to the 11 nonprofits and 2 cooperatives that we also fund. So for that plan, currently, what's been in there for the past few years is that public housing, the portion of that would go up whatever percentage council agrees to increase the corporate life cycle funding amount by, and the funding for the private nonprofits, any additional funding has been capped at 0%. And that's been the case for the past few years.
Okay, yeah, through your mayor. So for this, we need basically $2,100, $2,200 approximately a year for each unit. Will that be coming to council in the budget though to increase? Do you have an ask in the budget, I guess I would say?
I don't particularly have an ask for the life cycle funding. That's handled separately through Mr. Kelly, and he will present a position as well as Mike Turner, your CFO, corporately. But I will be coming back to council. My plan is in Q1 of next year to come back with a end of operating agreement analysis for you to let you know what my recommendations are for the future for maintaining viable social housing in the community.
Okay, so you're going to come back at that at the end of Q1. So you're not looking for anything until the next budget then, like in another year?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Caniff. Yes, to clarify, yes, I'm not making any recommendations for changes in the 2019 budget. I've left that with EMT to decide.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. If I could just add, so we are going to present to council next year very similar proposals, which you've seen in the past, which is at least an inflationary increase along with an additional contribution in the range of 1%. It'll be up to council to decide if they want to implement that, but that's across all of CK infrastructure, of which this is one aspect of it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Shelley.
Councillor B. McGregor.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Mr. Kelly answered part of my question. I did have another question regarding the Capital Reserve Fund forecasts. So it's understandably it has the 1.5% contribution increase expectation. So is that just a 1.5% municipal contribution? Does that include the decline in provincial funding? I think we kind of maybe answered that, but I didn't quite get it.
Thank you. Through Mayor Caniff to yourself, Councillor McGregor. The 1.5% that is in there is on their annual contributions that we fund through the provincial program. So each year the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing determines what the indices are for the provincial funding formula, and the Capital Reserve Fund is one of those indices. And so it's based on the average over the past 5 years. It's been 1.5%. And then we instructed IRC to use 1% for public housing and 0% on the corporate life cycle projections based on our instruction from Chief Financial Officer.
And then the cost inflation is at 1.5 as well. Is that a realistic expectation? I know just when we're looking at costs of renovation and construction and other municipal projects in the past 4 years, I can think that that inflationary pressure has been well above inflation. So I'm just wondering if that is an accurate estimate to use of cost inflation of just 1.5%.
There's some things that go up fast and some things that don't. That is an accurate evaluation of construction cost increases.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Solomon.
I don't think you have a motion yet, or do you?
Hey, I'll take your motion.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to move that the updated 2016-17 building condition assessment, accessibility audits, energy upgrade updates, and the Capital Reserve Fund report prepared by IRC Building Sciences Group be received and appended to the council approved 2017 asset management plan. And secondly, the financial data from the Capital Reserve Fund forecast be brought back to council for further discussion and consideration as part of the end of operating agreement analysis report to council in 2019.
Seconded by Councillor Oche. Any other discussion? We can put it to vote.
Certainly, yeah.
All votes are in. Motion passes 18-0.
Chief Administrator Office, 15A, 2018 Ontario Volunteer Service Award nominations.
Councillor Solomon.
Trying to help you keep things moving. I move that the names of the volunteers be approved as submitted and forwarded to the Ministry of Citizenship and Integration as nominees for the Ontario Volunteer Service Awards. Bearing in mind that it goes to the Ontario, we're just submitting the names at this point.
Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Discussion. Put to vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 18-0.
Item 15B, motion by Councillor C. McGregor regarding United Way 2018 campaign.
Thank you, and through the mayor, I'd move that administration be directed to allow representatives from the 2018 United Way of Chatham-Kent campaign access to municipal staff to provide education and materials in regard to the 40-plus local support services that are currently receiving contributions from United Way. 2, that this be coordinated with a representative of the United Way of Chatham-Kent and access be arranged prior to the completion of this year's campaign. 3, administration assist employees if they choose to make contributions through payroll deduction. And 4, administration provide a fulsome report back to council before June of 2019, detailing the different campaigns that have been conducted, the choices that staff have had over the past 5 years, the types of assistance they have received regarding education and contribution choices.
Seconded by Councillor B. McGregor. Discussion?
Thank you, and through the mayor. You know, I hope that everybody, well, first I guess I would say I'd like to thank everybody that's hung out and stuck through our council meeting to get to this point, and that there's some understanding with the presentations that the delegations made tonight of the great need that's within our community and how we can help support, and one is by educating our staff. It's not saying that our staff have to make those choices, but without education they are limited to some of the understanding of what is actually happening within our campaign. I know that a number of us were on the Seeing is Believing tour this summer, that we had direct access to see the benefits of the programs within the community and to be able to understand that. And I do know that in the past, the municipality has been a great supporter of United Way, but it has slipped away. And I would really like to see that support be reinstated. And maybe, you know, what I'd like to see is that we're providing our staff with education. I've talked to many staff members over the last little bit, especially since my motion came out, saying, well, we didn't even hear anything. Like, you know, we were kind of waiting. Nobody's even come to us. This time around, we were kind of waiting. So, and being one of those contributors through payroll deduction, I would say the very same thing, because I didn't remember having any access or any information other than a small note saying, you know, this was there. I think as a municipality and work within our communities, that we can do much better than what we were doing at the present time. If anyone has problems with my motions, I would ask that they ask that these be separated at least, because I think we definitely need to have an understanding of the programs that are going on, and have a report come back to this council as to, you know, where we should be going in the future. And I would just also mention that it's just come out in the news. United Way has once again just short of $600,000 through their staff and community and contributions going to United Way this year. Kudos to them, and you know, I would like to see us at least get back onto the path that we were on in the past. So I'll leave it at that. I could probably go on forever, but I won't. In light of Doug trying to move the meeting along.
Councillor Pinsino.
Thank you, Worship. I know in my first term here, we actually had a dedicated staff person for like 3 or 4 month period. Is that what you're asking for here?
Not this time, no.
So basically, just if they need any help through the chair, just if they need any help, that staff be there for them.
Through the mayor, what I'm asking for is that Chatham-Kent, or the members of Chatham-Kent United Way, that they be allowed to come in and have access to the employees to do their own employee campaign and presentation this year. In the past, I would like to see that come possibly when a report comes back in June, if we can see fit to get another employee that we could loan again for campaign time. At this point, though, it's, you know, with the campaigns and everything that's, with our election campaigns and everything that's gone on, time has gotten by without the ability to do this earlier in the year. However, the United Way campaign doesn't actually finalize into about the second week of January, am I correct? Somewhere in there? Second week in January. So I think there's still time for them to come in and educate, or leave some educational materials, or at least, you know, work with our staff to reach out to our employees to see if we cannot initiate a bit of a campaign here again this year, and then work to build on that again in future years to come.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, we put it to vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 17-0.
Community Development, 16A, Municipal Insurance Renewal 2019.
Councillor Solomon, you're on a roll tonight.
Apparently, I hate to be the only one bringing these motions, but
unfortunately,
I'd move that the municipal insurance be renewed with Frank Cowan Company for the quoted rate of $1,065,994 plus tax as applicable for the 2019 insurance year.
Seconded by Councillor Oche. Any questions, discussion? Put it to vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 17-0.
Item 17, Finance, Budget, and Information Technology Services. 17A, Sole Source, Israel Small Local Government Enterprise Agreement.
Councillor Harrigan.
So I'd like to make the motion that the Esri Small Local Government Enterprise Agreement be sole source to Esri Canada at a total value of $276,000 plus applicable taxes over 3 years. And 2, that the total project costs of $276,000, $92,000 annually plus applicable taxes be funded from the, 13858-52171 Esri account.
Second by Councillor Bondi. Any discussion? If not, put it to vote.
Especially when it's got those stupid numbers on it. Because like for the first and second reading of the bylaws, they just look.
All votes are in. Motion passes 18-0.
Okay, item 18, we will not have a report tonight as we're going back in after council, the open council concludes to finish the closed. We'll have a report on that the next week. Non-agenda business items. Councilor Pinsino.
Thank you, Worship. Santa Claus is coming to Thamesville Friday night with the big parade, so if you can make it out, starts at 7.
Thank you. Councillor Foss.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I'd just like to recognize Marina McDonald for doing a great job in the night market in Dresden. You couldn't believe the amount of people that was there, and and I guess I should mention Tyler Olette as well, who is a co-chair, plus any other support staff. Marina's here every council meeting, reporting council, and it just proves that she has a concern for the community, that she gets out there and gets involved, and I don't think she could have done a better job and attracted any more people than she did. And this is probably the 3rd event that she's put on in Dresden, and I'm sure it won't be the last, but we really appreciate the efforts that she's done in her group in putting Dresden on the map. So, Marina, thank you very much.
I was out that as well, and it was a fantastic event, and I sure hope that's not her last one she puts on. Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Thomas, I'm just wondering if you could provide us with an update with the 5th Street Bridge, as people are asking why it's delayed. Is there any update? Like, I know you didn't see this coming, so if you're not terribly prepared, that's fine, but I'm sure you will be.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. So when I reported to council last time, I had a commitment from the utility company. They would be done by October 15th. They've missed that date significantly, and they will not be done until this month now. So we will not be able to complete the bridge as planned this year. We will be doing that in the spring, first thing in the spring of next year, 2019.
Great. That's not good news, but it's an answer, so thank you.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. The community of Wallaceburg is still celebrating and is incredibly proud after the Wallaceburg Tartan Senior Girls Basketball Team captured the recent OFSA AA Basketball Championship held in London, Ontario. It was a nail-biter in the gold medal game as the Tartans narrowly defeated Dundas Valley 53-52 to earn the championship. So this is the first OFSA gold medal for the Wallaceburg school since the mid-90s. So I want to congratulate them and recognize their achievement. I've also spoken with Judy about possibly bringing the team and the staff in to be formally recognized by council at a future meeting. So, thank you.
Councillor B. McGregor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Caniff. Just a follow-up to Councillor Bondi's question to Mr. Kelly. Would it be relevant to direct citizens to complain to the utility company that delayed the completion of that bridge?
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I guess that's a decision by the residents. The situation there was they were behind schedule. We followed up with them regularly. So everybody knows, this is our fiber initiative. Council is very supportive of that initiative. We could have taken a hard line, but it would have meant that we wouldn't get the fiber to Chatham-Kent within Chatham, which is really important for all of our businesses and residents. So, I apologize that it's not done, but it was beyond our control. And what they're doing is going to really benefit the community as well. So I would really not recommend any comments like that. Thank you.
Councillor McGrail.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. I just want to invite everybody Friday night to Dresden for the hockey game. Dresden versus Blenheim, so it should be a great time. Come out and support your teams, but and to the kickoff to our big weekend this weekend. So please come out. Maybe Saturday night too, to the dinner and dance and support that name change. So that would be just great.
Okay, item 20, reading of the bylaw, first and second. Mover, Councillor Solomon, seconder by Councillor Latimer. All in favor? Council going to committee. Third and final reading. Councillor B. McGregor, seconded by Councillor Pinsino. All in favor? And resolution of council.
I've only done this for 4 years, so I keep forgetting it because we wait to get back to closed session. Get to it. I should know this off by heart, but I don't.
Putting the pressure on you here.
Thank you, and through the mayor, I would move that Chatham-Kent Council adjourn to its next meeting to be held on Monday, December 17, 2018. The Chatham-Kent Council authorize itself to meet in closed session on that day to discuss any matters permitted by the municipal act.